Republican Congressman Craig Goldman of Fort Worth, thank you so much and welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Thanks, Jack. Good to be here.
So lots going on. Wanted to start with Israel and the attacks on Iran's nuclear capability. What do you make of this, and should Iran be allowed to have a nuclear weapon?
Well, President Trump has made it very clear, made it clear from day one, that Iran should not have the ability and capability to have a nuclear weapon. Obviously, the intelligence got to be enough to where not only was the United States agreeable to Israeli making the strikes, Israel decided to make those strikes because of the fear that Iran was getting close enough to have the nuclear weapons. And we all know that if Iran received a nuclear weapon, the first target would have been Israel, the second target would have been the United States.
Because there's a lot of discussion now about whether should or will the U.S. give Israel the 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb, and will Israel deliver that bomb itself, even though it doesn't have its own aircraft that really could do it, or have the American B-2 bomber actually finish the job? Where are you on that?
Well, one, that's a decision the President of the United States needs to make in conjunction with Israel. Again, they have the intelligence, they have the briefings, they know the truth, what's going on over there, of whether or not they're at the ability to, again, Iran has the ability to enrich and make that type of weapon, and whether or not it's necessary to go in and destroy it all. So that's a decision the President needs to make.
You would support that, though?
I'd support 100%.
Why?
Why? Because Iran has said, the leaders of Iran have said, that they want to wipe out of the face of the earth Israel, and they want to kill Americans. They are an enemy. And the best we can do is to, if we can't take out an enemy, is to limit their abilities to take out Israel or hurt Americans.
What do you say to those who say that the U.S. should not be guided by Israel's timetable on this?
I don't know that the United States was. No one knows what conversations were had in the last few weeks or months between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Only those two know. No one knows the intelligence than those two of what they found out. And so only those two can make the decisions moving forward.
There's also been a lot of discussion of whether there should be regime change. Israel has openly told the Iranian people, hey, we're behind you if you want to overthrow the supreme ruler. What do you think about that?
Well, I think we've seen Iranians in America, Iranians who live here, who are protesting in the streets in favor of Israel, who are saying that what Israel is doing should have been done a long time ago, and they're in favor of it in hopes that they do get a regime change. So I think there are many Iranians, not only in Iran, but also in the United States, who are for a regime change.
The other terrible headline this week, we saw this political violence in the state of Minnesota, where a state representative and her husband were assassinated, and another state senator and his wife were shot. I guess they're going to recover. But what was your reaction when you first heard this, and what should be done about this?
Well, one, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific that happened to anybody, especially an elected official. All because they're an elected official, it seems like that they were targeted in that manner. What should be done about it is more awareness, I think, on all elected officials, more awareness of their surroundings and what's happening, and then take all threats seriously. I think every single elected official has had a threat, if you will, in one way, shape, or form, but they all should be taken seriously.
And that entails what, just involving law enforcement?
Involving law enforcement. I'll be honest, when I first was elected, minor threats or threats that we didn't think were serious, we didn't let law enforcement know about. Certainly now, any minor threat or anything that appears to be a threat, not only do we let Capitol Police know about it, but we let Tarrant County Sheriffs, Fort Worth Police, and the FBI know about it.
The New York Times recently reported, as you know, that President Trump wants Governor Abbott to call a special session here in Texas, bring state lawmakers back, and I know you're familiar with special sessions, but to redraw the congressional districts here in Texas to help Republicans out. What do you know about this, and is this going to happen?
I know nothing about it. I know what you know. I know by what's
there
reading.
There haven't been any meetings among the Republican
no meetings
members
with the
of
White
Congress?
House. No meetings with the White House. No, we've had no information.
What about
given
just
to us.
amongst yourselves?
Well, it's by reading the papers and watching TV do we see the hearsay, just like everybody else. But no official meetings with the White House at all about it.
Is this something you agree with?
Well, look, I know that every 10 years we're required to redistrict. I sat on the redistricting committee. I personally much prefer that it happen once every decade based on the data that we're given.
And do you see this going forward? I mean,
I have no idea. You'll have to ask the governor and the president of the United States.
All right, and then let me ask you also about the one big beautiful bill that
Sure.
is going through. You obviously voted for it in the House. The U.S. Senate is now taking it up, and they've had some changes. I think more Medicaid cuts or incentives for states like Texas not to join Medicaid. And the Congressional Budget Office has said that if this goes through, at least on the House plan, 7.8 million people will lose their coverage. What's your thought about that?
So I sit on the committee that oversees this.
House Energy and Commerce.
I sit on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and one of the oversights we have is on Medicaid. We were tasked with finding $800 billion in savings. We found over $1 trillion in savings, and that was put in the one big beautiful bill on the House side before it was sent to the Senate. Jack, the main thing that we found are able-bodied Americans who are receiving Medicaid that should not. What we found were illegal immigrants who in California who are put on Medicaid that should not. My constituents don't want people in California who are here illegally receiving benefits off Medicaid. Their tax dollars, their taxpayer dollars going for Medicaid. So that's the things that we found. That's what we put in the bill. It's able-bodied Americans, so all those who deserve to be on Medicaid will stay on Medicaid. But those who don't deserve it, able-bodied Americans who can go work or even volunteer their time, who can get off their couches and can go to work, they should not be on Medicaid. So that's who in our bill, we're removing. So that people who truly deserve, and there is a waiting list, truly deserve to be on Medicaid and receive Medicaid, that's who we want to continue to receive and to receive the benefits.
Democrats I've spoken with say that is just really one small, group. There's more to it than that, and some of these people really do need to be on Medicaid because they don't get any insurance coverage at all from their employer.
So in our 26-hour committee hearing, and we had a 26-hour committee hearing, every Democrat had a poster from someone at home who was on Medicaid, people in wheelchairs, disabled, young children who are currently receiving Medicaid benefits. And they said if this bill passes, these people are no longer going to receive the benefits. And every single time they held up one of those posters, we responded with, that is a complete and total lie. They pointed to people in the audience who were disabled. And they said if this bill passes, those people wouldn't receive their benefits. A complete lie. So point being, the Democrats are lying throughout this in hopes that their message spreads. And all it is one complete lie of who's going to no longer receive Medicaid benefits.
Now, my understanding, because I reached out to the committee, that Medicaid is still going to grow.
That's right.
And that this $1 trillion in cuts is cuts not from the baseline, but from the growth.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, keep in mind, again, there's a waiting list for people to get on to receive Medicaid benefits. We want those people who deserve to receive those benefits to receive them. But able-bodied Americans who can work who are on Medicaid should not receive it. Illegal immigrants who are on Medicaid should not receive it. So again, it's waste, fraud, and abuse in the system. People who are abusing the system should not continue to receive benefits.
But is it abuse if the states have allowed it? Because that's what's happened, right?
Well, the states have allowed it, and the federal government has allowed it. The states have allowed for illegals in California to receive benefits. People in Texas don't want their taxpayer dollar going for illegals to receive Medicaid benefits.
But some of these other states, forgetting California for a minute, other Republican states have expanded Medicaid.
Yeah.
And so are they to blame for this?
No one's to blame for it. We're all to blame. We've allowed this to happen. We're finally now saying it's enough. The federal government can't afford to continue doing this. And so, again, this is a big, beautiful bill. It's a first step in a long process of basically performing the first government audit in American history of where we find waste, fraud, and abuse.
Tax cuts.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate, again, is still working on this. And I'm just wondering, I think they made a change, if I remember what I read this morning, that some of the business expensing would be made permanent. Is that something you would support?
Well, look, any tax cuts I'm for. What we all know is that if this bill doesn't pass, almost every single American's taxes go up. We need to make the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent. That is the first and foremost thing we need to do because, again, if this bill does not pass, almost every single middle-class American's taxes go up. And let me be very clear. This is a pro-middle-class tax bill. We're going to eliminate the tax on tips. We're going to eliminate taxes on overtime. Think about all the men and women who are in law enforcement or nurses who provide overtime that are getting taxed on their extra time serving. And so we're going to eliminate that income tax.
And you think this will pass?
Oh, I know it's going to pass. The question is, what does the final bill look like? I can't tell you that right now because, of course, we passed what we could, and the Senate is putting their touches on the canvas, and then we'll wait to see what comes back, and we can either pass it outright if we have the numbers to pass what the Senate changes make, or we go to conference and the leadership of the House and leadership of the Senate come together with putting together a final product and then having it pass both chambers before it goes back to the president.
And you think that'll happen no matter what the different versions are, et cetera?
Yeah, I think, look, the president has made it very clear and very adamant. He is president of the United States and he was elected by way more people than we were elected by. So I think it will certainly pass. I just can't tell you right now what the final form looks like.
We will leave it there. Congressman Craig Goldman of Fort Worth, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jack, very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.